Hi everyone. Hope everyone's doing great again as usual. And if you like the video, definitely appreciate a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, subscribe for more content. And thank you so much for watching. So I wanted to do a quick video on uh, really the basics of what are like psychic gifts or spiritual abilities, or whatever people want to call that stuff. The ability to see and hear, and um, have that ability. So uh, great news is I just did another video on it. Anybody can develop these sorts of things, and we're really using these same abilities, or I guess what's the proper word, senses, on a day-to-day basis. We may not even realize it. So of course we are made of physical. Our duality is simple. So everything has a duality. For us, for humans, we're physical and non-physical. That's the basis of existence too, of course. But for us, that's our very experience in life. So we have our physical bodies, and then we also have our non-physical counterpart as well. What some people call our soul, which is our collective memory. Our data banks where we store everything. Language, experiences, everything in all five senses is stored in our mind or in our experience. So that's a very real part of who we are too. So now everything that exists in the afterlife is purely non-physical, plain and simple. So when we die, our souls, our non-physical portion of ourself, that's what becomes immortal, and that's what carries over to the afterlife. All our identity, our knowledge, our experience, everything like that. So when now on a day-to-day basis, when we experience this world physically, of course we have five physical senses, and we use them to see and record things non-physically. So that duality is in play. They're integrated, in other words. So when we read something physically, it gets stored non-physically in our mind. So as knowledge, for example. When we hear things with our physical ears, that's simply physical noise, period. And then it gets stored non-physically. However, we can also hear things non-physically, and that's totally separate. For example, on a day-to-day basis, we all think, at a certain point. We have a thought, and that is in our mind, which is simply non-physical. So when we hear ourselves think, that is our non-physical ears hearing, in other words. So not our physical. So there's a very distinct difference there. Our physical ears cannot hear things. Our physical ears cannot hear non-physical things. Our non-physical ears hear non-physical sound. I think I said that right. So for example, plain and simple, physical ears hear physical sound, non-physical ears hear non-physical sound. And it makes sense. I mean, we hear things, we walk around and we hear things all the time. Our ears pick up on them. If it were our physical ears hearing our thoughts, we'd hear everybody's thoughts. If you think about it, it'd be chaos. You could hear everything at all times. So, which raises another curious point, of course. If we can hear our own thoughts, why can't we hear other people thinking, or that sort of thing? So, and it's just a matter of training, which kind of circles back to the original point, which is everybody can develop spiritual abilities, and it's just a matter of getting used to that. So when we're taught, when we grow up, for example, we're taught to think, in our heads, and that's where we think and store things. When we read, it's stored in our mind, that sort of thing. And then we're, of course, taught to be able to think and analyze things and that sort of thing. And then, we have memory recall and that sort of thing. So we are taught to a certain degree to use our minds, but that's it. We're not taught since when we're little that, oh, you know what, there's all sorts of, non-physical energy around us, and you can actually hear it or pick up on it. It's just a matter of being able to train yourself to do that. So another interesting example is, and it seems easier said than done, but it's really not. So again, like with anything, it's just a skill. So like, for example, when you're thinking, say you're on the bus and you're going to work and you're thinking and you're just sitting there listening and you can't hear anybody else thinking, or, whatever's going on in their heads at the time, maybe nothing. But if you picture, you can imagine this, picture like just someone shouting as loud on the bus as possible so everybody can hear them, using your imagination, and just look around and see if anybody notices. They don't notice because we're so trained to focus on just our own thoughts and have that sense of self-awareness. So another way to illustrate that point is it's not so easy, because you could picture, loud, non-physical noises as much as you want, but no one else, for the most part, is going to notice them. So it's, but they're real. You're hearing them. You're creating these things, but nobody else is aware of them. So just another reason, or an example of how, we're trained to basically only access this level of skill or ability on a day-to-day basis. And that's why, otherwise everybody would be able to do it, So, other than that, so really that's it. It's that's a good example there of how non-physical versus physical, at least sound, is perceived. Same applies to like visions. For example, like you could vision someone like an angel walking up and down the bus, and no one's gonna like look, twice. No one's even gonna notice it for the most part. It's real. You're generating it. It's just that we're not trained or taught since we're young to notice these sorts of things. Now, we do access like sound and vision like when we sleep as well, because all our information is stored in our heads. Just that when our eyes are shut, we're not aware of anything around us, and our awareness is shut down. And so it's really just kind of your awareness bouncing around your entire database, just picking up on stuff at random. So we can experience visual, non-physical energy that way too. And many people too have probably had certain experiences throughout their life where they see or hear something, and this is just kind of your natural ability that hasn't been exercised yet, kind of being triggered in the moment or coming awake for some reason, and you just happen to notice these things. So again, like with anything, it's just skill and something that has to be developed. So I just wanted to share that and kind of explain the basic fundamentals of what communication with the afterlife is, and the difference, everybody residing in the non-physical half of that duality, physical, non-physical, and then which faculties or senses are being used to perceive that sort of thing, and why we don't necessarily see these sorts of things. So hopefully that was helpful, and you found that useful, and it provided some good information. And of course, as always, if you have any comments or questions, that sort of thing, definitely let me know. And I have a couple more videos kind of along these lines I'm going to do. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you later.